Saquon Barkley is one of the best running backs in the NFL when healthy, and it's been that way since he first stepped on the field back in 2018. After a rookie season that included 2,000 plus scrimmage yards, 15 touchdowns, 91 catches, and winning the Rookie of the Year, the bar was set incredibly high for this once second overall pick. It seemed like barring injury, he was a no-doubt Hall of Famer. But sadly, the injuries piled up, including a torn ACL that cost him most of the 2020 season, along with an injury in 2021 that caused him to be less efficient than Devontae Booker. But in 2022, during a contract year, Barkley turned back the clock and looked the best he's had since that record-breaking rookie season back in 2018. The Giants as a team flourished, clinching their first playoff berth since 2016. Last season, the 26-year-old running back put up over 1,300 rushing yards, caught 57 passes, and found the end zone 10 times. Barkley and the Giants got off to a 7-2 start, and in that time, Barkley was arguably the best back in the entire league the first 10 weeks of the season. Through 10 weeks, he led the NFL in rushing, was tied for the league lead in 20-plus yard runs, and averaged well over 4 yards per carry. The Giants were 7-1 in games where Barkley ran for over 70 yards and 0-1 in the one game he failed to reach that mark. The Giants were a run-first team that protected the ball, and it led them to a great start at 7-2. It was reported around this time that Barkley turned down an extension from the Giants that would have paid him over $12 million annually. The problem is we don't know what the full details of the contract were, how it was structured, and what the guarantees were. Even though he had a fantastic first half, NFL teams do adjust, and starting with a game versus the Lions in Week 11, they stacked the box on defense and would not let Saquon Barkley beat them. After seeing that go well for Detroit, other teams would follow this formula, and all of a sudden Saquon was no longer as efficient on the ground. From weeks 11 through 14, New York went 0-3-1, and Saquon was not able to top over 65 rushing yards in any of these matchups. Barkley did finish the final 3 games playing better, with 2 games over 80 rushing yards and the Giants going 2-1 over that stretch. In the playoffs, Saquon averaged 6.3 yards per carry in 2 playoff games, but only received 18 carries, which probably wasn't nearly enough looking back on it. Despite the success, the reality was about to set in, and GM Joe Schoen was faced with a very tough decision. They only had 1 franchise tag, but 2 of their best offensive players needed extensions, and those players were of course Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. From a financial and positional standpoint, it always made more sense to place the tag on Barkley. A quarterback franchise tag would have been $22 million more as compared to a running back, so Jones was the higher priority in terms of getting an extension done. Whether it's fair or not, that's just the nature of the NFL today. As the deadline for the franchise tags approached, it became more and more evident that the Giants were not interested in extending Saquon Barkley and shifted their attention to their quarterback. Minutes before the deadline, it was announced that Daniel Jones had been extended for 4 years, $160 million, and Saquon Barkley would get the 1-year franchise tag for only $10 million. Making $10 million in one season is cool and all, but these guys want stability, especially for a position that's notorious for injuries and guys breaking down in their mid to late 20s. But that really is the sad truth. Not only does Saquon play the most devalued position in football and maybe all of sports, but he arguably was the main reason the Giants made the playoffs last year aside from Brian Daboll. And now months later, he's seeking a contract extension and he may never get it. And the only leverage he has is just to sit out and refuse to play next year. Now in most cases, I'd agree you just pay the quarterback and it's a no-brainer, but the Giants are an interesting case. Although there's context to include like Jason Garrett's trash offense and the lack of receivers, there is a glaring difference in Daniel Jones' numbers when Saquon plays versus when he's out. As you can see based on the numbers, Daniel Jones without Saquon is not anything near a $40 million per year quarterback. But when Saquon plays, Jones puts up a passer rating that's 14 points better, much better at protecting the ball, and a QBR that's 11 points higher. Despite Barkley being more effective for most of the season, it is a what have you done for me lately league, and that favors Jones, who ended the season playing very well in the final 3 out of 4 matchups. Excluding the ugly playoff loss in Philly, Jones looked like an MVP in his 2 games versus the Vikings and the 1 versus the Colts at home. And Saquon over the final month looked pretty good, but he was definitely not carrying the team anymore like Daniel Jones was. On June 12th, an interview came out out with Saquon, and I have to admit it's probably the most brutally honest answer I've seen him give in his 5+ years of being a Giant. He spoke about the state of the running back position and how none of the top guys at his position were able to reach the open market, which included himself, Josh Jacobs, and division foe Tony Pollard. He indirectly threatened to sit out the 2023 season if an extension was not reached by the deadline on July 17th. He was upset about how he was portrayed by the media when the tag was applied and they painted him out to be the bad guy. He called the Giants one-dimensional in the beginning of the season and relied on the run, and felt he deserved more credit than the average running back for his team's success, which by the way, he's not wrong about. He mentioned the Lions game, how they went all out to stop the run and they busted their ass, quote unquote.
No, we were a one-dimensional team in the beginning of the season. We were running the ball. We have a great coach. We played Detroit Lions. They came in, bust that ass, stopped me. We had to switch it up, and we have a great coach with Days and with Cav, and we had a whole new game plan. We came out and found a way to get the job done and make it to the playoffs.
And as I said, this is rare from Saquon Barkley. He has been so consistent with saying the right thing, giving dry answers, and not really saying too much. But in this particular interview, that all changed. Now, would Barkley sit out the entire season next year? Of course I lean no, but he was a 2nd overall pick and has reportedly made over $10 million annually in endorsement deals, which includes Dunkin', Pepsi, Nike, and many others. This is not your average day 2 or day 3 running back who is finally looking for his big payday. He can retire tomorrow and still have generational wealth. I don't think money's the issue here. And if you put yourself in his shoes, it's easy to understand the disrespect. He's been here since 2018, endured a ton of losing, kept his head down, worked hard, rehabbed from injuries, has been a team leader, team captain, and was the highest draft pick in franchise history since Lawrence Taylor. And although he would never admit it publicly, he knows he was the engine for that offense last year. Warren Sharp released an article in late February and went through the advanced numbers on the Giants offense, and it was eye-opening how ineffective their passing game was in 2022. On 3rd and 4th down specifically, out of 47 quarterbacks last year, Daniel Jones ranked 44th in percentage of throws beyond the first down marker, only 37% of his throws, 42nd in yards per attempt, only 6 yards per attempt, 41st in target depth, 39th in completion rate at 56%, and 33rd in first down conversion rate at 31%. Now, you'd have to be a hater to admit Jones did not execute the offense very well and did what the coaches asked him to do. But you'd also be missing the big picture if you ignored the real reason the Giants offense took strides last year. That included the play calling, the red zone efficiency, and of course the running game, which did include Daniel Jones too. We went over the wins earlier, and Barkley was largely responsible for the first 7 wins before his production dropped off after week 11. Unlike most running backs in his situation, Barkley does have some leverage, but not enough to force the Giants' hand. And Dalvin Cook, another top running back being released, probably does not help his case too much, especially if Cook were to take a team-friendly deal. The Giants know how vital Saquon is for their success, and without him, their chances of missing the playoffs jump up even higher. And it's not like they have some prolific running back behind Barkley on the depth chart. It's Matt Breida and rookie Eric Gray. Now, ironically, it could still be the fault of the man who drafted Barkley as to why he has not been given an extension yet, and that's Dave Gettleman. Gettleman made the pick back in 2018 to take Barkley 2nd overall, but due to his reckless spending and bad contracts the past few years, the Giants still have cap limitations that are affecting Barkley 5 years later. So how does this play out? It seems like the two sides are not close to a deal, so I don't expect an extension anytime soon. What it may come down to is whether Barkley sits out the season or decides to play on the 1-year deal for $10 million. We'll see if playing hardball with the Giants front office gets him the deal he wants, but let me know in the comments, how do you think this plays out? Is he extended? Does he play on the tag? Or does he in fact sit out the 2023 season? Me personally, I think it might be a bit of a holdout, but I do think he ultimately plays on the 1-year franchise tag. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I'll talk to you guys next time.